All hell is breaking loose as the United States defense infrastructure in the Middle East and across the entire world is falling apart. This air of invincibility that was once attached to the United States military and international defense apparatus has been destroyed in record time by Donald Trump and his despicable regime. Our allies, or I should say former allies in the Middle East, who would bribe Donald Trump with all that quid pro quo money, believing that Donald Trump was able to provide this critical defense capabilities and technologies for their countries. Well, that's being exposed as yet another Trump fraud and grift, because the Iranian Shahed drones, the Iranian unmanned vehicles that are in the water as well, that are attacking these boats in the Strait of Hormuz, these unmanned vessels, I should say. This is causing a massive, not just disaster in the Middle East, but a total loss of confidence in the United States. And it is restructuring a world order. It's unfolding before our eyes, with America no longer as a leader or a dependable ally at all. That's an understatement. I want to share with you what somebody by the name of Patricia Marins has been saying. And I think that her description here is apt. Here's what she writes. The war exposed the collapse of American protection. In less than 1 hour after being hit by the U.S. and Israel, Iran responded with surgical precision, striking 17 American installations across the Middle East. Successive waves of missiles and drones forced U.S. troops to abandon their bases and scramble for shelter in luxury hotels, which then became targets themselves. It has now been 13 straight days of continuous bombardments with multiple waves every single day and no sign of fatigue. Let me pause there in this description, because I also want to be very clear. The United States and Israel have certainly bombarded Iran with missile strikes, and tomahawks, and a massive, massive assault on Iran, not just in Tehran, but all across Iran. We also know that the United States and Israel have struck elementary schools and hospitals and desalination facilities and other civilian facilities as well, resulting in thousands of civilian deaths, which have sadly rallied the Iranian people around their new Ayatollah Mojtaba instead of rallying around the United States when there was such incredible hope, at least a little bit, I thought, in January when there were all those protests in Iran. So the U.S. and Israel are striking Iran, but Iran is striking its neighbors. Northern Israel is being bombarded with these Iranian strikes. And it also seems that Iran has been able to develop, likely with the help of the Russians and the Chinese, all of these new weapon systems that have been more difficult for the U.S. Patriots and THAADs to be able to strike down in the region. And now the U.S. has to take away some of its THAAD and Patriot systems from South Korea to move it now to the Middle East. We see South Korean media broadcasting videos of their missile systems that were promised to them by the United States being taken away, because it seems that Iran has been able to strike and destroy a lot of these THAAD systems positioned in the Middle East that the United States had positioned there. And meanwhile, you have Kim Jong-un of North Korea posting videos and photos of himself trolling Donald Trump while he engages in missile tests. Take a look at this. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test launch of strategic cruise missiles from a new 5,000-ton naval destroyer, the country's state media said. As Tenzing Lamsing writes, North Korea trolling right now. This missile test comes after the U.S. removed its THAAD missile interceptors from South Korea and is sending it to the Gulf. And what we've seen with a lot of these videos coming out through some of these open source intelligence sites being shared in the region, these U.S. interceptors, the THAAD, the Patriots, have struggled. I mean, they've done a good job, but they've struggled to deal with some of the new Iranian workarounds, with some of the new Iranian drones and missiles and cluster munitions. Anyway, let me go back to what Patricia Marins was writing here. These strikes by Iran are not limited to the bases. They are hammering roads, airports, ports, hotels, and power plants. We saw the ships, 3 of them just yesterday alone, in the Strait of Hormuz that was successfully hit by Iran. We saw off the coast of Iraq, while you had the ship-to-ship transfer taking place, there was a strike, and one of them was, I believe, a Malta flag ship doing the ship-to-ship transfer with a Marshall Island flag. The Malta, I believe, is Greek owned. The Marshall Islands, I believe, is actually a U.S. owned ship doing this transfer when this unmanned vessel of Iran struck and crushed it and put all of this oil into the water, which was a disaster. I mean, I think more oil in the water there than the Valdez oil spill, it looks like. But anyway, I digress. Let's just keep getting through this together. Evacuation orders exist on papers, but they are being carried out at a snail's pace because security is non-existent and far too many troops are still trapped under fire. Almost no one remains at the American bases anymore. Even the refueling aircraft that operated out of Saudi Arabia have been pulled out and relocated to Germany. The message to the Gulf countries is crystal clear. The U.S. can't even protect its own bases, so you're on your own. The sense of invincibility that lasted for decades has been shattered. Critical radars destroyed, interceptors running on fumes, bases bombed, Iranian missiles still launching, the Strait of Hormuz still closed, and Gulf allies left completely exposed. All of this is being watched in real time by Asian countries that, until yesterday, were betting everything on American power to contain China. The red light is flashing bright. If the U.S. couldn't defend the Gulf against Iran, what real chance do they have of protecting anyone against Beijing? Up until February 28th, American protection felt absolute. Today, it feels like something else entirely. The collapse of that decades-long myth of absolute security is the deepest and most lasting indirect effect of this war. By the way, it's not over yet. This war is still raging with no sign of ending anytime soon. You know, the one thing that I would only add is that you can have some, but I would edit a little bit. And I think it was a good description, though, by Patricia right here, though. You can have the best weapon systems, the most powerful this, the most powerful that, but in the hands of someone who doesn't know how to wield it, even the most complex and advanced systems are not able to be used effectively. Remember, Donald Trump gutted the military, right, of its top leadership. Pete Hegseth, remember, fired and pushed out some of our top generals. And you had the Peter Principle, or something even worse, the Pete Hegseth Principle, which is even worse than the Peter Principle. You had some of the best talent moved out and people who were loyal and sycophants rising to the top. And so we've also lost some of our talent who knows some of the best military tactics. And when you have Hegseth and Trump running this, that's a big problem. When you have people like Doug Burgum speaking for the Trump regime, it's a big problem. The Interior Secretary talking about the war in Iran and saying that our Gulf state allies have never been happier. I mean, when you say this, it doesn't just hurt our credibility, it shatters it. What do you mean that the Gulf states have never been happier? Tell that to Oman and Kuwait and the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Bahrain and Iraq and Iran and Lebanon, plus the whole Strait of Hormuz travel paths, and Israel. These are countries that have been hit on day 12 of the war. All of these countries have been hit and hit hard by Iran. And again, I'm not trying to undersell the viciousness, or to use Hegseth's term, the lethality of the U.S. strikes in Iran. But it's also just false to say that we've obliterated Iranian capabilities when Iranian capabilities seem to be actually escalating and improving by the day. And I'm just telling you facts. You may not like these facts, but that's what's actually happening now in the region. And we can't be watching this U.S. propaganda. We can understand when we're being fed Iranian propaganda or Russian propaganda. I understand that propaganda is trying to hit us from all of these sides. I get it. But what I also know is what I can see, what I can observe, what I see happening and what I see taking place in the Strait of Hormuz when Donald Trump says it's perfect. And then I see photos like this from Thai media showing crew members who worked aboard a Thai flag cargo ship that was hit by Iran and 2 others were hit by Iran. I can observe that the Strait of Hormuz is not safe, right? When Trump's energy secretary says we're doing naval escorts in the Strait of Hormuz, and then he takes it down, I go, oh my gosh, they're lying. When the Trump regime claims that Iran did a Tomahawk missile on its own elementary school, killing 150 little girls and 175, 185 people total, I go, I know that's a lie. I know that's a lie because I'm observing it. So when Trump says, oh, Iran has no more capabilities, they've totally been decimated, but I see the skyscrapers that are being hit. I mean, look at the skyscraper hit right here. Iranian drone struck Dubai overnight, hitting a skyscraper building in Creek Harbor. I see what is happening right here. I'm aware of it. So yes, I can sort through the propaganda, but I can give you the facts. And so when Burgum, the Interior Secretary, says our Gulf allies have never been happier with us, stop it. They've never been more livid. What the U.S. did by invading Iran because we believed Israel was going to invade first and that could lead to Iran attacking us, by doing that and not standing up and telling Netanyahu, no, we don't have your back. That's what Trump should have said. If you're a powerful, tough U.S., that's what you should say. But by rushing into this, we've now created this disaster, did not warn our Middle East allies. So stop with the propaganda. You know what Burgum said. Here's what Burgum said.
When these Gulf states know their refineries being targeted and and the oil storage being targeted, what do you say to our Gulf state allies at this time? What's your advice to them?
Well, I think our Gulf state allies have never been happier than they have now to have U.S. military presence in their country and to have a strong relationship, both economically and in terms of energy industry with the United States. They understand, who supports them and who supports their growth and prosperity.
All right. Now, also the new Ayatollah Mojaba, according to the Jerusalem Post. I'll read you what the Jerusalem Post here says. Mojaba Khamenei, the new Ayatollah, deadlier than his father. His ex-study partner of the supreme leader tells the Post, this is an unmitigated disaster from every aspect of it as well. Let me read you more from what Patricia Marins has to say here, because I think she has a number of, very good insights in this point. How the American military cannot leave Iraq and what that tells us right now. So here's the article by ABC. U.S. struggles to evacuate American personnel from facilities under fire in Iraq. American military cannot leave Iraq. With an order to evacuate bases 10 days ago, military cannot leave and remain under intense fire from Iranian drones and local Shiite militias. Iran managed to open fire against almost all American bases in the region to the point that the military had to abandon these bases in billion-dollar losses. Patriots were powerless in the face of the number of attacks. However, I believe that the anti-drone systems of these bases were not strengthened for an eventual confrontation with Iran. She said later, I will write how this redraws the role of the American military presence in the Middle East and completely broke the confidence of Asian countries in the American ability to give them comfort. And we talked about that before. And this risk now expands, by the way, across Europe, across Eastern Europe, across the world. So one of the things we know is that Romania is now granting the United States permission to deploy aircraft and up to 500 troops to support operations in Iran, whereas Spain is saying, absolutely not, we're not doing that. The UK is saying, nope, you can't use us for offensive attacks. France is saying, nope, you can't use us for offensive attacks. Why? These countries realize that if they give America the ability to do that, Iran's going to try to hit them with drones. And Iran is capable of doing that based on the distance right now. And so, as Patricia Marin says here, the risk of this is that from Tabriz to Romania, it is less than 2,000 kilometers, very much within the range of Iranian missiles. I would say that Iran today has at least 6 missiles and variants capable of hitting Romanian territory. Iran has not feared reactions when choosing its targets involved in attacks on its own territory. Spain very recently disauthorized the use of its bases and territories for actions connected to attacks on Iran. The involvement in Romania is another escalation of a conflict that agonizes without having reached any objective until this date. The American government has hesitated to put other countries at risk in its conflict, but not anymore. Let me share this video with you as well. This video right here, I think, shows where the American military bases were struck right when the war began by Iran. And again, I'm not downplaying that the United States has been, again, hitting Iran very, very hard. But again, when Trump says they're totally decimated, that's not what's happening right now. Here, just play this video. Let's play it.
This is Iran, this is Israel, and this is 33 kilometers wide Strait of Hormuz. Today I will show you American military bases in Middle East, starting with Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, UAE, Oman, Kuwait, Iraq, Jordan, Syria, and Turkey. Now I will show you the bases which are under attack by Iran. Number 1 target was Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Number 2 was Al Dhafra Air Base in UAE. Third is Ali Al Salam Air Base in Kuwait, NSA in Bahrain, Ascan Village in Saudi Arabia, Muwafaq Al Salti Air Base in Jordan, and Al Assas Air Base in Iraq, Erbil Air Base in Iraq.
And meanwhile, you have Iranian military leadership saying the following: not a single liter of oil will pass through the Strait of Hormuz if it benefits the U.S., Israel, and allies. This is the military spokesperson who's holding daily briefings. By the way, our intelligence community in the United States and Israeli intelligence says that the Iranian regime has not been decimated, even though Trump claims they are, and that the Iranian regime remains largely intact. That's the reality of what's happening. That's what our own intelligence community is. Not only are they intact, they have a more extreme leader in Mojaba. The military spokesperson warns that any tanker bound for them will be a legitimate target. One of the statements that's also being made as well by Iran seems to suggest that they will be focused on the Red Sea soon using the Houthis. So you have a sense of it. There's like the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea, and then you've got the Strait of Hormuz there. But then separately, you have the Red Sea, which is an alternate route where you can try to move the oil. The Strait of Hormuz, usually a preferred route from the tankers. 20% of the oil goes through there. But the Red Sea is an area where you can try to divert some of the oil to. But there you have the Houthis. And one of the things that we're seeing is that Iran is basically saying the following: senior Iranian military official to Al Jazeera, if Washington makes a strategic mistake, another strait will be placed in a situation similar to the Strait of Hormuz. And as Patricia writes, they are preparing the close of the Red Sea using the Houthis. Possibly at this moment, they are transferring weapons to Yemen. Now, as I said, there are independent sources that are verifying what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, and that in the last 24 hours, there is a significant increase, not decrease, increase in targeting of commercial shipping vessels and oil tankers in the Persian Gulf and around the Strait of Hormuz by Iran. So if you're like, Ben, I don't believe what you're saying. What are you telling me here? You're just saying a lot of things. I'm being told on other American media that we're decimating them. Well, just take a look right here what the United Kingdom Maritime Organization has to say, or the UK Office of Maritime Operations. They're reporting more attacks on container ships in the Persian Gulf, this time in the United Arab Emirates. And then there was the 3 others yesterday morning. There's this one last night. This is increasing. We have other ways to verify this stuff. And as Patricia writes, Iran opened several attack fronts using decentralized command and control units that work successfully. No one received more attacks than Israel. The damage in Israel is much greater than in the 12-day war. Israel attacked a lot and was heavily attacked itself without achieving any objectives in this war. Iran is about to come out victorious in the war, which it administered 8 fronts, with Oman included. As I warned for weeks, it would be a very difficult and long war. Several factors call attention and contradict Western predictions, and one of them is the number of missiles that Iran is capable of sustaining beyond a short term. And again, what's Jerusalem Post writing? After 11 days of fighting, Israel has received 9,115 missile damage claims, 6,586 buildings, 1,044 content equipments, 1,485 vehicles. Again, we got to pay attention to what is happening out there. And just look right here at this video as you'll see the Patriot missile system, the interceptors versus the Iranian missiles. So this is a perfect example. I think that Patricia does a good job showing this video. That on March 3rd, Iran attacked an oil storage facility in the UAE. We reported on it then, right? The attack was filmed by Chinese sailors. You see them right here. And one of the things you see here are 6 Patriots against 2 Iranian missiles. And those missiles are able to evade the Patriots. Now, these Patriots cost millions and millions of dollars each. And one of the things we're seeing is when you have these THAAD systems and Patriot systems, you're using billion-dollar equipment with millions and millions of dollars of weapons to try to take out $20,000 drones. And how do we know that some of these drones aren't dummy drones that actually don't have any actual live munitions in it and are being used to draw out the missile systems? Like, isn't that a strong possibility as well? So we are depleting all of our systems. How do we know that? And again, this is where we have to think critically, right? So why would we be taking away the THAAD systems from South Korea if we were good, right? The same way it's like, if we were okay and not panicked about the oil supply, and if things were really happening fine in the Strait of Hormuz, as Donald Trump says, then why would we be tapping in on an international level and national level to the strategic oil reserves, right? The international agencies associated with it released what? Massive quantities of oil. The U.S. released massive quantities of oil as well. And what's happening to the price of oil per barrel right now? It is still going up dramatically right now, still going up significantly. And again, with all of this taking place too, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, our Trump regime is out there, palling around with Russia. You have Steve Witkoff posting the following. And again, Russia is integral to helping Iran with all of this stuff. So is China. And it's like, Donald, how stupid are you? Or maybe, you're just, doing it on purpose to help Iran and China, because what the hell else is going on? You have Witkoff, the special envoy, the one who was with Jared Kushner at the mediation in Oman, or with the Omanian foreign minister. And they, there was a deal in principle reached, but then the U.S. invaded Iran that night. Witkoff's just a horrible human. He said this yesterday. Today in Florida, the Russian delegation had special envoy Kirill Dmitriev met with the U.S. delegation, including Witkoff, Kushner, and White House advisor Josh Greenbaum. Like, who are these people? Why is Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner involved in this? Why is Witkoff? Why are any of these people involved in this? Like, well, who are these people? Donald Trump's real estate buddy Witkoff? What are we doing here? And then Kirill Dmitriev goes, thank you, Steve, Jared, and Josh, for a productive meeting. Just think about if you're Ukraine right now and you control the anti-drone technology that's so needed right now. And Donald Trump does everything he can to try to screw you over. And now he wants your anti-drone technology. And also Eric Trump wants your technology because he's now in a drone business to try to enrich himself. And you, Zelensky, recognize that Russia's technically opening up a second front in its invasion of Ukraine in the Middle East right now, attacking Western interests as well. And Donald Trump, who's being attacked by Russia and being attacked by China and doesn't realize it, is like palling around with Putin's people. And Zelensky's like, let me try to help you. And Donald Trump's like, you know what? We're going to meet with the Russians in Miami. And we think that they're the ones that are being helpful right now. Anyway, that's what's going on around the world. Okay? You may not like what I'm saying. You may be like, why are you giving me bad news? Or why are you saying this is the truth about what's happening right now? We have to recognize that this is the reality. And if it isn't the reality, then why are all these ships getting destroyed in the Strait of Hormuz if they really are decimated? Why are all these missile strikes actually escalating in their effectiveness against Middle East countries if Iran's truly destroyed? Let's ask these basic questions, eh? And just think about if you're South Korea and you're getting your missile system removed, or if you're Taiwan, what are you thinking if you're Japan watching this? What do you think Japan's thinking right now? What do you think Prime Minister Takayishi's thinking right now? I'll tell you what she's thinking. What do you think Europe's thinking? What do you think Canada and Australia's thinking right now? Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching this. I know it was a long video, but it was important that we get out all that data. And I think appreciate you for watching.
New Meidas merch. Head to store.meidastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.meidastouch.com.